The purpose of this video is to give you some support in the production of your own speech in class and to help give a bit of an explanation to some of the concepts we've covered on effectively constructing persuasive speeches. All right, so before we begin, we need to consider a couple of things. First of all, don't bother trying to change people's beliefs. This sounds a bit counterintuitive. It sounds like you might ask the question, isn't that the point of persuasive speaking? But I'm going to put it to you that people really don't change their beliefs very easily. That it takes a significant event in their life, perhaps, but it's a very big thing to change beliefs. So don't even bother trying. That's not where the game is at. So what you're trying to do is realize that these beliefs are deep-seated and they evolve over time, but you want to try and use your audience's beliefs to your benefit, even if they seem to be in opposition. And so an effective metaphor here would be to look at judo. In judo, you try to use your opponent's own weight against them. And so it's the same thing in persuasive speaking. Understand your audience's beliefs and try and use those beliefs to bring them to your way of thinking. Now, it's one thing to know your audience's beliefs, but you have to know what you want. Do you want to change the attitude of your audience? Do you want your audience to do something? Do you want your audience to stop doing something? You really want to be focused in how you're approaching this and be completely clear about what you're persuading your audience to do. For me, the idea of persuasion is getting an audience to do something that they're not already willing to do. So even though they might agree with everything you're saying, you're trying to get them to do something else. An example of this would be giving money to charity. Everyone would agree that giving money to charity is a good and valuable thing. Very few people would disagree with that. But when you're persuading people in an audience, you're actually trying to get them to part with their money, which is something else entirely. So people will agree with you on charity, but you would want to persuade them to actually give money, to sacrifice the next thing they want to buy for the good of somebody else. Now think about how you're going to appeal to your audience. You're clear on what you want. You know your audience's beliefs and you're accepting that they don't change. You're going to do your judo and try and use their beliefs against them. Well, try and use something like an appeal to reason and logic. That's one strategy. Another strategy is to appeal to their ethics or their morality, their sense of right and wrong. Another strategy could be an appeal to emotions. It could be an appeal to fear, an appeal to patriotism, an appeal to longing, anything like that, but an appeal to emotions. So I've got two pictures here. Bernie Sanders, running in the Democratic primary at the moment in America, would be using appeals to ethics and morality to justify his position. Whereas Donald Trump, he's all about the politics of fear. He's appealing to emotions. He wants to make America great again. And that's his strategy in his speaking. Now that you've got all this in hand and you know generally how you're going to try to appeal to your audience, choose your weapons. Select your rhetorical device to suit your appeal. And it's okay to shift appeals during speeches. What I mean by that is one part of your speech might be an appeal to logic and reason, but then you might shift to an appeal to emotions. It's okay to do that. So use a variety of techniques and think about the effect that you're trying to achieve. And that effect would go back to how you're trying to appeal to your audience. So if we look at appeals to reason, then you might think about using statistics or real life examples and evidence. Or you might use an if this then that argument to logically state the case for why your audience should do something, why your audience should stop doing something, or how they should change their attitude. So if you're trying to appeal to emotions, you might want to use emotive language. Figurative language is really effective for appeals to emotions, using metaphor, personification, or simile. Using the straw man strategy. Now, the straw man is where you invoke a fictional or a person who's not even there. So it could be a "some might say I'm crazy" kind of argument using a straw man in order to appeal to your audience. The use of inclusive language, the use of "we," right, to have your audience emotionally identify with you. Another one is categorization. And so an example here is the use of the word asylum seeker instead of or illegal immigrant. The contrast between those words appeals to different kinds of emotions. The asylum seeker might be an appeal to pity or generosity. Illegal immigrant is an appeal to the emotions of fear. Appeals to ethics and morality can work very much the same way as they would with appeals to emotions. So you'll see the emotive language, but like an appeal to logic, you could use statistics. You could use the straw man again, you could use inclusive language or this categorization again. But remember, an appeal to ethics is an appeal to people's sense of right and wrong, their sense of justice. And so there's a subtle difference there. And so it's kind of this mixture between emotions and logic. They'll probably be drawn into this. And so here are some last thoughts. Know your perspective. What's your argument? What is your position on your topic? Know your audience. Know their beliefs. Know their perspective. Know what drives them so that you can know how to appeal to them. And by appealing to their emotions, their logic, their ethics, you can bring them to the middle. You're not going to change their beliefs, but you can try to bring them to change their attitudes, to change their behaviors. So hopefully this helps give you some ideas for how to think about your persuasive writing and how to then structure from there. If you have any questions, just give me a call in class and we'll work with that. Good luck.